911, what's the address of your emergency?
I just want to transfer, possibly a home invasion.
Thank you.
Sir?
Hello?
He's on his line.
106 observation. My name is Jesse.
Hello?
Richmond, you said people in this backyard and you said they were coming through. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, I'm Lieutenant Matt Stonebreaker, Public Information Officer for the Richmond Police Department. I'm going to brief you on a police-involved shooting which occurred at 2:15 a.m. on April 11, 2019. You are about to witness video footage and learn about evidence and police procedures to better understand what occurred based on information learned during the investigation of this incident. The Richmond Police Department conducts thorough investigations. Every time an officer uses force, the incident is reviewed by a committee to determine if the officer performed their duties within the scope of our policy. Anytime a police encounter results in a police-involved shooting and/or death, the Contra Costa County Protocol is enacted and investigators with the District Attorney's Office become involved and lead investigative efforts. However, we do not draw any conclusions about whether the officer's actions were consistent with our policies and law until all the facts are known and the investigation is completed. Viewer discretion is advised, as the images and information you are about to see may be graphic and disturbing. When a police officer uses force to arrest a suspect or defend against an attack, it can be difficult to watch. In addition, there may be strong language used by those shown in the video. This event occurred on April 11, 2019 at a home located in the 900 block of Wilson Avenue at approximately 2:15 a.m. Dispatch received a 911 transfer call advising that a possible home invasion was occurring. As the incident escalated, dispatch was further advised that the suspect was the father of the caller and he was attempting to stab members of their family inside the home. The suspect was identified to be Luc Ciel. Ciel broke into the home of his estranged wife. Once inside the home, Ciel held his estranged wife and their 2 children hostage at knife point inside the home. During this time, Ciel made claims that he was going to kill himself, even making futile attempts to slash his own throat. Ciel also placed the knife to his estranged wife's neck and threatened to kill her. You are now watching AVR footage from Officer Tyner's point of view. RPD officers were dispatched to the 900 block of Wilson Avenue and quickly responded to the scene. Officer Tyner and Officer Evans attempted to enter the front door and discovered it was locked. While in the rear yard, officers observed a distressed victim inside of the home. Officer Evans was able to get the victim's attention and drew the victim to a rear sliding glass door. Officer Tyner and Officer Evans made contact with the victim and quickly assisted her to safety outside of the home. Once the victim was safe, Officer Tyner had an unobstructed view into the home. Officer Tyner was able to observe Ciel on top of his son inside of the home. Ciel was stabbing at his child and making slashing motions with a large knife. Officer Tyner and Officer Evans quickly made their way inside of the home, creating a direct line of sight into the hallway where Ciel was continuing his assault. Officer Tyner gave loud and clear commands to Ciel to drop the weapon.
Drop it! Drop it! Drop it!
Ciel looked up at Officer Tyner as he continued to slash his son with the knife. The brief distraction allowed his son to free himself from under Ciel. Officer Tyner recognized that Ciel was armed and still an active threat to his son. Officer Tyner fired his duty pistol, striking Ciel. Ciel collapsed in the hallway in between the master bedroom where Officer Tyner was located and the children's bedroom where his son was hiding. After falling to the floor, Ciel yelled, "Fuck you," and immediately tried to get back up onto his feet and advance on Officer Tyner. Officer Tyner and Officer Evans both recognized the immediate threat that Ciel still presented to his son. Officer Tyner and Officer Evans both simultaneously fired their duty pistols, striking Ciel and causing Ciel to slump down onto the ground. Officer Jackson, believing Ciel was still a threat, fired his duty pistol.
Come here. Come here. Come on. Keep coming. Can you come out? Keep coming, keep coming. Oh, he got one. Come on out. Come on, come on. Drop it! Drop it! Drop it! Drop it! Drop it! Shots fired.
You are now watching AVR footage from Officer Evans' point of view.
Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come out. Shit. Come on. He's got one right now. He's got one. Let's go. Let's go.
Drop it! Drop it! Drop it! Drop it!
Responding officers entered the home and assisted in escorting the remaining victims to safety. Ciel was provided medical attention by emergency medical personnel at the scene, but ultimately succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced deceased at 2:53 a.m. Emergency medical personnel also provided immediate medical attention to all three of Ciel's victims at the scene. During the investigation, it was discovered that Ciel was in possession of an 8-inch hunting knife and a 6-inch paring knife. Ciel was also in possession of multiple large zip ties. Investigators believe that Ciel had planned to use these zip ties to tie up his family members. In 2015, Ciel was arrested for attempted murder, child cruelty, domestic violence, false imprisonment with violence, criminal threats, displaying a deadly weapon, and kidnapping. In 2016, he was convicted of domestic violence and battery. He was sentenced to 3 years probation, 300 days in jail, and a restraining order prohibiting him from contacting his wife and 2 children. In 2019, he was arrested for violating that restraining order. Domestic violence and sex assault detectives assisted in the investigation and provided the victims with an advocate and domestic violence resources. This has been an RPD community briefing. We hope that you have found this informative as we continue in our pursuit of increasing transparency and productive community engagement. Let's continue this valuable partnership in keeping Richmond safe.